go. And we are. Let's see. Sorry, it's been a while since I've done this. Getting a little bit back in the setup here. There we go. And welcome in to Jay the Flash's channel here on twitch.tv. If you are not doing so, please hit that follow button, turn on those notifications so you can join us on our lives. We are here reviewing the Week 13 NFL season of 2023. I do not know what I'm doing. I really need to get that script when I do these things. Yes, Week 13 was a great one. I was live at AT&T Stadium for the Dallas Cowboys win over the Seattle Seahawks. An amazing experience that we'll definitely want to talk about. A couple different upsets this week that I think we definitely want to go over. And yeah, what a week of football. And you know, normally we save the Dallas Cowboy talk for the end, but I think we're going to kick it off this week because, man, was it an exciting time. It was the Thursday night football game on Amazon Prime. Dallas picking up the win 41-35 over the Seattle Seahawks. What a great game. Like I said, being there live was something just... I mean, if you've been to one, you know. If you haven't been to one, I highly suggest trying to get to one. Being there for a live game is just so much different. The atmosphere is amazing. Great time. A lot of Seahawks fans there. I want to give some Seahawks fans some props. They travel very well. There was quite a bit of Seahawks fans there at Dallas Cowboy Stadium. So it was amazing to see that. Great competition. In fact, my whole entire row was Seahawks fan, including my wife. So a little surrounded there, but I did have some fellow Cowboys friends in front of me that we had a good time. So overall with the game, the defense did not show up for Dallas for sure at the start, but they came in clutch at the end. Give me just a second. And, you know, got the stops when they needed to get the stops. Dak Prescott once again looking like an MVP. Great stats for him. Jake Ferguson really solidifying that he is a tight end one in the NFL. CeeDee Lamb came up big again. Tony Pollard starting to show flashes again. Hopefully we can see a little bit more of that from him. I think he's going to be a key to beating San Francisco in the playoffs and maybe even a little bit on Philly next Sunday. Offensive line still had some struggles. I do feel like the Seahawks had a lot of pressure on Dak. He handled it very well, but there was still a lot of, some missed blocks, I feel like. Terrence Steele was having another day where, you know, he just couldn't get off his feet fast enough, I feel like. Definitely needed some shoring up on the offensive line, but we made the plays when we needed to. And then as far as defense goes, you know, Deron Bland definitely didn't look like Deron Bland of all season. He did get another pick, his 8th interception this season, which is the most in the NFL right now currently. But they did show some flaws in his game a little bit, which give credit to Seattle there. Their offense came out to play. DK Metcalf was monstrous. Not a lot of pressure on Geno till the very end either. I think that's where I was saying that the defense really didn't come alive. You know, that front seven wasn't getting pressure. And again, it's either credit to the Seahawks offensive line, who did a great job of blocking the other guys, because they definitely double teamed Micah quite often. The only time they didn't really double team Micah is when he made the play at the end. So, yeah, I think our front seven struggled a little bit. Our linebackers were a little bit slow, I feel like. And then our safety work. Our safeties were kind of, to me, the biggest fault on the defense this weekend. Javon Kearse made some plays at the end, but he had some plays that were Malik Hooker wasn't coming up and filling the gaps, I feel like, on some of the runs. Definitely an improvement that our defense needs to make. But, you know, the talk going was if the defense doesn't have their game, the offense isn't going to be able to win them a game, and the offense did. So, also, thank you, Automatic Aubrey, for, you know, making those field goals. I still wish you wouldn't miss some extra points, but you're perfect on field goals this season, so keep that up. We had a key miss from Myers on the Seahawks, which my wife has been screaming for Seattle to get a new kicker for the last 2 years. So maybe they'll need to look into that. Other good stuff that kind of happened in that game. No, Michael Gallup again. I think that it's starting to worry me a little bit, but Brandon Cooks is definitely stepping up. I'm liking his play. Tolbert being very aware of when Dak was scrambling to get open for him. Our tight ends are looking great. I love the tight end play we're getting right now. And then defensively, yeah, again, a bad game. You can't say, not every defense is going to be perfect every week. Let's get this one out of the way. Philadelphia's coming in. I think we're going to have a really good game. I think it's not going to be close, but I thought that about the first game too. I thought it was going to be a blowout either way, whether Philadelphia blew us out or Dallas blew out Philadelphia. So, the Eagles coming off a Niners loss could be interesting. Is it like us where we kind of lost to the Niners and we had to relook at ourselves and we played a lot better football. And we lost a pretty similar way that the Eagles lost. Great, kept up in the first half, but couldn't keep up in the second half type situation. So we'll see what happens. Again, Dak's play has been by far the best of his career. I do think Mike McCarthy is getting a little bit better at time management. There was a few things in there I was a little the going for it on third down there and passing it when we probably just should have run it, and that way the clock would have kept running, and then kicked a field goal if we didn't get the first down. But I think we could have got the first down on the run. I didn't like the pass to the end zone. And maybe Dak called that. That's, again, I think Dak has a lot more free reign now. So, but overall, being there, watching that game live was so much fun. I can't wait to go back. I'm hoping sooner than later. But it was definitely an experience of a lifetime, and I appreciate to those that were involved in me getting there. Shout out to my family for keeping JJ in check for the week for us so we could go down. The next time we go, though, I am taking him. I want him to go and experience this. I think he'll love it. Shout out to all those that, just have been helpful the last couple weeks. So, very fun. So, all right, back into the other games. Tennessee at Indiana. Indiana pulls off the OT win 31-28. The Colts, they lost Anthony Richardson, and I think it changes their season a little bit there. Minshew's doing all right. He's making plays when they need to. They're winning games. They still might miss that playoffs just a little bit, but okay. We'll see how that happens. I said the Titans season was over a while ago. They didn't do as big of a fire sale as I think they wanted to on during the trade deadline, so they're still stuck with some things. I do think Will Levis could be a great quarterback, so I don't think they need to move on from him. I think they need to figure out some defensive things, and then they might be okay, honestly, because their offense is still pretty. I mean, Will Levis needs more time, but yeah. I don't think they're in a bad spot going in. And yeah, the Colts, I think they'll make a playoff run. They definitely can. The AFC is very much wide open. I mean, I think almost every team still in the hunt, technically. I mean, there's some that are it's like a 2% chance they make the playoffs, but they're still in the hunt. So we'll see how that goes down the stretch. Yeah, I'm liking the way Indy's winning games, so you can't be hurtful on them. I just don't know how well they can sustain that throughout the rest of the season. Los Angeles Chargers, New England Patriots, 6-0. What a snore fest there, huh? Not good for either team. Even though the Chargers got the win, not good. You only scored 6 points against Bailey Zappi and the Patriots. I know the Patriots defense is good, but they haven't been great all season. And to only put up 6 points with that offense, and Brandon Staley's going to probably flip it for himself because they need to fire him. They should have fired him last year after the comeback win by the Jaguars. That should have never happened. But he's going to take the credit for all. Well, the defense only scored. The defense didn't give up any points, so it was our offense's fault. And I don't do the offense. That's Kellen's. He's very good at doing that, of diverting the blame when it's going to fall on him. Like, they're not going to make the playoffs. I don't think they are. I 100% do not think the Chargers make the playoffs this year. And hopefully that'll be see ya. Because Belichick, Harbaugh, there's going to be a couple other coaches. There's going to be about 7 to 10 positions, I think, available in the NFL for coaches. Harbaugh and Belichick obviously going to be the two top candidates going through the season, depending on what happens. Belichick could just straight up retire and say, I'm done with football. Harbaugh, if he wins the title, I think for sure he's leaving Michigan. If he doesn't lose the title, he might do a couple of the battles with, the suspensions for the scandals and all that stuff. So then he might come to the NFL because he's like, I'm not going to deal with all that crap. But the Chargers team is a solidly built team on paper. They just cannot win football games. So, I mean, maybe the players aren't as good, but I think it is 100% their head coach. So it could come down to, if they get a change in head coach, they could be a different animal next year. Detroit Lions 33, or I guess we'll go New England real quick. I mean, I think they even say in themselves their season's over. They're not getting any attendance at the games. Bailey Zappi's the one that's in. I think Mac Jones is gone. New England's going to do a complete blow-up and rebuild. I don't know what kind of coach they want to bring in. That's going to be the interesting thing there, And what they do have a great defense. A good defense. I won't say great. They have a good defense. They haven't shown consistency enough to be a great defense. So they definitely want to be, figuring something out. But the Kraft still, they get it figured out and they come back. Man, they could build a dynasty again. So Detroit 33, New Orleans 28. A lot closer than I think Detroit fans wanted. Detroit been struggling a little bit lately to not, that's back to Detroit of last year where they gave up a lot of points on defense and had to rely on that offense to have some late game heroics. Not a way you want to be playing playoff football, especially when you're going to have to go against the Cowboys, the Niners, and the Eagles in the playoffs. They're not going to let you, do that as much. So this defense is still very young, and I think that's their biggest problem. Just the inconsistency there on defense. If they had consistent defense, I think they'd be undefeated. Because their offense clearly, and I mean, Goff has struggled the last couple weeks, got a little bit back to form. And honestly, if Carr doesn't get injured, I think New Orleans wins this game. So, they're playing that fine line, and it is any given Sunday in the NFL. Any team can win, as there's a couple games that will go down and show you that they can. The Lions just need to be careful is all I'm saying. And we'll see. We get a matchup with them in a couple weeks. Dallas versus Detroit. That could be, a seeding opportunity for us. So definitely interested in that game. And New Orleans they're still in the hunt. I think they'll fight for one of the last playoff spots. I don't think they're going to win the South now. I think that is going to go to Atlanta, which I called earlier this season. So, but they'll fight for one of the last playoff spots in the NFC. Speaking of which, Atlanta 13, New York Jets 8. What a disappointment for New York this season. You brought in Aaron Rodgers. You thought this was going to be a season to remember. And, man, it's clearly not Zach Wilson. Like, they wanted to put it all on Zach Wilson, but they brought in someone else to play quarterback, and they're still not scoring points. So, and I know Aaron Rodgers likes the guy, but that offensive coordinator, he got let go from Denver for a reason. Denver was struggling to score on offense too, if you kind of remember. So I don't think he is as good of an offensive coordinator as Aaron Rodgers is making everybody out to believe. It's kind of the whole Josh McDaniels thing again. Was it the offensive coordinator or the fact that the quarterback could run the offense better just by being himself, by the quarterback being able to diagnose, and that maybe this offensive coordinator has to have a great quarterback in order to be good because he can't diagnose the defense himself. He needs that pair of eyes on the field out there to diagnose the defense for him. And I think that's kind of where they're struggling because, man, they've got playmakers everywhere. Breece Hall should be popping off every game. Garrett Wilson is a stud of a wide receiver, man. Like, any other team has him, and they're going to be dominant. And that defense is really good. They still only gave up 13 points again to Atlanta, who's kind of offense can be high powered at times. So I don't know what's going on in New York there. Is Aaron going to make it back? Because the Jets are still in the playoff hunt. I doubt it. And if I'm Aaron Rodgers, you gave it one more week, man. And if they lose this upcoming matchup, you can't rush that back. Don't hurt yourself. You got another season next year. Let's go get some offensive linemen in this draft, some good offensive linemen, because obviously offensive line is the Jets' problem, 100% their problem, and see what that can do for you. As far as Atlanta goes, again, still some inconsistency there at the quarterback play. Their defense is playing great, though, so that's good. Again, they'll probably win the South and be in the playoffs, but they'll get eliminated by the 5 seed because that's who they'll end up playing, whether it's Dallas or Philadelphia. Because it's gonna be Dallas or Philadelphia at the 5. There's no more question in that. It's just gonna be, is Dallas gonna be the 1 seed or the 2 seed? Is Philly gonna be the 1 seed or the 2 seed? Because Niners are coming on really strong, and we're gonna get into that Niners Philadelphia game, and there's something scaring me a little bit in old California. Give me a second. Yeah, bud. Um, but yeah, they're going to be the 4 seed, but they're going to have to face a 5 seed that's going to be way better than they are. So it'll be great that they won the division. We'll say that because they got a very young team. I still think they're missing pieces. They might be looking after a veteran quarterback on the offseason. There's going to be some veteran quarterbacks coming up in free agency. Is that a possible landing spot for Kirk Cousins? Now, the way Josh Dobbs is playing, I don't think so. I think he'll still be a Viking. If Dak doesn't win in Dallas, do they don't extend that contract? If he wins MVP, I don't know if they'll do that. I think they'll extend the contract because you got an MVP. But they still could be like, hey, Dak, sorry, man, we're not getting to the Super Bowl with you, so we got to change something up. So could Dak be gone in Dallas? And, it's not something I like to talk about, but, so Atlanta could be looking at one of them veteran QBs in the offseason to sign because they're obviously going to be a little bit higher in the draft. Again, it should be a stacked quarterback draft, maybe. Just came out, Caleb Williams is not playing in the bowl game. Could mean he's getting draft ready or he just doesn't want to get injured for next season. Shedeur Sanders was on the sideline at the Dallas game. Maybe things to come. Who knows? Maybe he stays one more season in Colorado with his dad. But there's a lot of good quarterbacks coming in. We'll see how that goes there. Another game surprising me a little bit. Arizona 24, Pittsburgh 10. Kenny Pickett does go down. I still think Arizona wins this game even if Kenny Pickett stays in. I think Pittsburgh's finally kind of hit their luck season as well, or luck ceiling as well. Their defense is great, but their offense is stagnant. And Kyler Murray obviously is still going to be an electrifying player. And Arizona is just playing to play football now. Arizona knows they're not making the playoffs. They're just playing to play some football, and they're having fun doing it. They're trying to see what they need for next year, and I think that's a smart way to do it. Instead of tanking, just go out and play football. Do your best. If you lose, you lose. If you win, you win. And you're going to get a draft pick either way somewhere. And now you know what you have and what you don't have and what you need to replace and what you do need to replace. So I think it's a very smart play on Arizona's part. They've played everybody really tough. They really haven't got destroyed by anybody. It's just going to be interesting to see where they go. And for as far as Pittsburgh, like I said, that defense is great, but that offense now, and Mitch Trubisky's back in, who I've never had any faith in being a good quarterback. That AFC North record wise is still looking to be the best division in football, but man, is it getting injury prone. You got Burrow out, you got Deshaun out, you got now Kenny Pickett out, and then so Lamar, you better be careful. There might be a curse on the NFC North starting quarterbacks. It's just not looking good. Or AFC, sorry. I keep saying AFC. AFC North quarterbacks. And, man, that AFC division is wide open. So you got to be careful. But you might need to be a little conservative with Lamar. Because just get him to the playoffs. Because you guys have got a great team. I think, honestly, in my opinion, they're the top team in the AFC. Um, and we'll do that in our power rankings thing, but yeah, they're definitely the top team in the AFC as of now. So Miami 45, Washington 15. Miami giving a beatdown to the Commanders, very similar to what the Dallas Cowboys did on Thanksgiving. How Ron Rivera is still the head coach, I do not know, and it could just be a straight up that Magic doesn't want to pull the trigger just yet and fire him. Just he's gonna let him get through the season. But God, they're Sam Howell's putting up really great QB numbers minus the turnovers. The turnovers and the sacks are kind of crazy, but and that could be the huge difference maker. But they're just not. You play the East to Washington, it makes me think the Eagles are less of a team. Like they struggled to beat this team twice, and maybe it's just because Washington knows how to play them. Who knows? Or maybe Washington matches up so well with them that there's just no. But it's just not. I don't know. The Commanders and the Giants are not the same teams from last year, and because the NFC East was supposed to be the tough division this year, it's supposed to be the toughest, based off of what happened last year, and now we got two teams that just are bottom feeding, and you got two teams playing at the top level. So I don't know what the Commanders need to do minus firing Ron Rivera. I think they got talent on all sides of the ball. Yeah, they got talent on both sides of the ball. They traded away a lot of their defensive players, but I think they've got some stuff in return that'll benefit them. The draft's going to be huge for them. Obviously, they're going to have a new head coach next season. Who's it going to be? I think Eric Bieniemy deserves it, but the way this offense has been playing, they're going to blame it on him. But when in reality, it's because the defense is not doing enough to help the offense either. So we'll see where it goes for them. Miami's still looking super strong. Again, though, they're in the same boat we are. We just did beat Seattle, but Miami's got to beat some top teams. We're going to play them, obviously, in a couple weeks. That's going to be a great battle to see what happens. What DK did to us Thursday, Tyreek could do tenfold. So we got to be careful with that. Hopefully Dan Quinn comes up with a good game plan on Tyreek Hill. I mean, the easiest game plan is just don't let Tua throw in the ball, and that's going to be on our front seven to get there. But the Dolphins are playing great football right now. They're definitely probably the fastest team in the NFL as far as speed goes. You can see it all over the field from defense to offense. Jalen Ramsey has been a huge addition for this defense coming back. He's playing out of his mind. Elevated the other defensive players on Miami to play better. So, going to be an interesting matchup in a couple weeks. And Miami's got a little bit of tough schedule coming up. See how it goes for them. They just need to stay on pace with the Ravens if they want to get that number 1 seed to bring everything through Miami. So Denver at Houston 22, Denver 17. A really close game, but then shrouded with some injuries. Texans lose their top wide receiver, but C.J. Stroud makes enough plays. I mean, it wasn't C.J.'s best game of football, but he stepped up when he needed to. He definitely is rookie of the year. I don't think there's unless barring a catastrophic injury somewhere, I think C.J. Stroud's going to win rookie of the year. He'll be a Pro Bowl selection. I think his MVP status is dropping a little bit over the last couple weeks, but we'll see where that goes. But they're picking up the win when they need to. And I told you guys, I was telling people last season, I've been telling you guys all season, this Texans team is good. They're young, they're hungry. Obviously, they're going to make mistakes when they're young, but they're playing great football. The head coach doing a great job leading them. If this Texas team makes the playoffs, first time ever, a rookie coach and a rookie quarterback make the playoffs, be a great story there. Denver finally kind of skidding here a little bit, slowing down from their win streak. They had great plays, and their defense is playing better. It just obviously the Texans wanted a little bit more. Russ's big turnover late there was not good. Both these teams are going to make it to playoffs. I believe that. So see what they can do in the playoffs. Denver can be scary in the playoffs, I feel like, for at least the AFC. I don't know about matching up against anybody in the NFC, but they've already proved they can beat the Chiefs. which I think means they could probably handle Jacksonville. I don't think they can handle the Ravens as much. The Ravens' defense is too much for Denver's offense, but they could make a run there in the playoffs. So, Tampa Bay 21, Carolina 18. I mean, Carolina's losing season continues, but man, they're starting to look like they want to play harder. So I think they pick up a couple wins at the end of the year here, maybe. I don't think Bryce Young was the right choice over C.J. Stroud now, looking at it, but I still think Bryce Young is a great choice for their quarterback pick. They just need to give him a couple more years of development. He'll be right there. Sometimes it just doesn't click right away, you know. I think C.J. and his wide receivers just clicked right off the get-go, and that's been huge for the Texans. I think give him another year, Bryce Young will be kind of turning this Carolina team around. And they obviously need to look in some other things for draft and positions and see what they need to do. Definitely fix that offensive line as far as pass blocking goes. Tampa Bay getting the win here, 21. They're trying to keep pace in that NFC South. Like I said, the Saints, the Falcons, and the Bucks all have a chance to win this division. It's all very close and tight. I think this loss does eliminate Carolina officially, so they can't really do nothing. But the rest of the three teams all have a shot. You know, easiest way to get in the playoffs is win your division, so you don't have to worry about a wild card spot. But I think they'll be in that battle for the last wild card spots as well as their division. So, but they're playing great. They're just playing good football. There's nothing you can say bad about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. There's not a lot you can say great about them either. Mike Evans, though, picking up another 1,000-yard receiving season. Congrats to that. That's 10. Insane numbers. Guy doesn't get enough credit for what he does. He is definitely one of the top wide receivers in the league, and he needs to be recognized as one. I think a lot of it was because he was in Tampa Bay, and then Brady came in and kind of stole some of that hype. But yeah, Mike Evans is a great wide receiver, and you know, maybe it's his time in Tampa Bay's up, and he needs to get to another team if he wants to win another Super Bowl. But maybe he just wants to finish out his career in Tampa Bay. You never know. Some guys are loyal like that. But congratulations to him. Cleveland versus Los Angeles Rams. Rams 36, Cleveland 19. Cleveland's down to their fourth starting quarterback of this season. We saw how well that went for the Niners in the playoffs. Los Angeles starting to come on strong again, though. They're getting healthy. The defense is playing good. Stafford's playing great. So don't sleep on these Rams in the playoffs because they match up pretty decent with San Francisco. They played San Francisco probably better than anybody else. They faced them twice in a season. They do have one more matchup, so we can see where that goes. Because Aaron Donald's probably the only guy I trust in this league that could probably disrupt their run game enough that you're going to have to rely a little bit heavier on Brock. Obviously, that's still working out pretty great for him right now, but don't sleep on this Rams team. They just won a Super Bowl 2 years ago. They're getting healthy. They could start making a run. And like I said, for Cleveland, man, just being on your fourth quarterback, I get it. That defense is supposed to be great, but I mean, it statistically was the number one overall defense. But now it's starting to show that, man, they're getting tired. They can't be on the field this much. The offense isn't producing enough. As good as Cleveland's season started, I think it's going to finish a little rough. And they're just back to the drawing board, you know. What do? You haven't been able to find a starting quarterback in so many years. You know, you got Deshaun, who is not even a shell of himself. He has glimpses, but he's not even a shell of himself since the whole debacle in Houston. And you're paying him a lot of money not to do nothing. So you might have to bite a bullet here, and it's going to be a couple years for you guys can figure that out. But Cleveland's definitely the one thing they need to figure out is their quarterback position. So to the game of the week as far as afternoon games, San Francisco versus Philadelphia. San Francisco 42, Philadelphia 19. San Francisco just showing off this game. Started off, though, a little rough there. You know, the Eagles drove twice to get into field goal range, whereas the Niners had negative yards, and then everything just finally decided to open up. Score at halftime was still only 13-6, though, going into halftime, so it really was that third quarter. Same thing that happened to Dallas, that third quarter, man. San Francisco just, there's so much. A lot of missed tackles by the Eagles. Debo was having a monster game. McCaffrey doing his thing. Kittle did his thing. There's so many weapons on that offense, and then when that defense gets a lead, man, they just pin their ears back and go. They don't mess around. Ward was amazing in this game. He had some really clutch plays up against A.J. Brown, which, that's the one Niners' weakness is their secondary. So the fact that their secondary was the one stepping up, that scares me more than anything. If the Niners' secondary can really play up to a good caliber, well, you know how elite the linebacking core is. Fred Warner is, I still think, should be an MVP candidate. His numbers, flashy-wise, don't show you that, but he is the whole reason that defense can be the way it is. That front seven, or the front four, not as much pressure as I thought Bosa and Young should be getting on Jalen Hurts. But again, Philly has one of the best offensive lines in football, so, I mean, there's definitely that. But those two did not get us home as much as I thought they were going to. And as far as Philadelphia goes, man, I know the sorrows. Welcome to we got our asses whipped by the 49ers club this season. But it's kind of what I've been saying all season long. You got to give them credit for winning all 10 of those games, but there were so many games decided by a play or a bad call, or, it's the Vikings of last year. The Vikings won so many one possession games. If you flipped it, let's say they lost those games, they were at the bottom of the league. So it would be the same for the Eagles. They only have 3 wins of 7+ points. So you can't. I get it. You won the games, which is gritty, hard football, and that's what you need to do in the playoffs. But you can't discount that they haven't been playing to the same level they played last year. That secondary is now 28th in the NFL, where they were, in the top 10 last year. Overall defense, they were number 2. Now they're 29th. Their defense is definitely struggling, and it's affecting the offense a little bit, because now Jalen can't just do Jalen things. He has to, he's trying to force things. He's trying to, we saw it in the Dallas game when he tried to force things. That's when mistakes happen. Do I still think they're one of the top 3 teams in the NFC? Yes, 100%. It's 49ers, Dallas, Eagles, and then everybody else. Do I think this could be a skid for them? 100% yes. Anytime you take a beating like this, it can mentally affect you. You're either going to go one way or the other. Dallas, we went the other way. Hope, for Philly fans, I hope it's the other, not down. Coming into Sunday, man, I'm telling you, I want Dallas to put up everything. I don't want them to let you guys do anything. I want Dallas to just beat you down again, because then that means you're probably going to be feeling less froggy against Seattle, and Seattle beat you, and then we're definitely in the lead. We need that. Dallas needs that home field advantage. As much as I hate to say it, we're not as good on the road as we are at home, and we need that home field advantage for at least a game in the playoffs to at least get to the NFC Championship. So, yeah, I just don't think you can afford to go into this game and not play good. I think it could start a skid right before the soft part of your schedule, which is great, because then you could stop the skid, but you've got us in Seattle next, and that's going to be tough. And even looking at it now, let's go look at Philly's schedule coming up. I mean, it's New York, Arizona, New York. So, I mean, not a bad 3 to close out on, but Arizona does not just play anybody lightly. New York obviously is New York. I don't know what to expect with the Giants anymore. Again, division rival, you think they're going to play hard. They've beaten the Commanders twice, which you guys barely beat, and we destroyed them. So it all just depends on how they want to play. Dallas obviously has the next hardest part of the schedule coming up with Philadelphia, Buffalo, Miami, and Detroit. So we got a slate of games, and then we end at Washington, which will be great. And then San Francisco's got a little bit of a tough gauntlet coming up too. So the fight for the number 1 seed is on right now. These next 3 weeks decide the number 1 seed hands down in the NFC, which I think is going to be key. I don't think as much for San Francisco. San Francisco proved they can go on the road and win big games. Obviously, you would love home field advantage, but San Francisco's proved they can go and win pretty much anywhere. Philly and Dallas kind of want that home field advantage. Philly feeds a lot off their fans, and not the greatest fan base in the world. Not going to badmouth it too much, because I do have a friend that's a Philly fan who's actually a better Philly fan than most Philly fans. You can't, just some of the things that Philly fans do drive me nuts. But You definitely can't play bad football coming up the next 3 weeks if you're San Francisco, Philadelphia, or Dallas. I think Dallas is the bigger threat to San Francisco, and that can be my homerism. I'm not gonna say it's not. I've just, like I said, I've watched most of the games this season, man. I just didn't feel like Philadelphia was. Yes, they won the games, but they weren't, and they beat us. Yes, they did beat us, but I think we beat ourselves. They had 2 fumbles that bounced right back to them. You have some play calls that were missed, the offsides, the false start, the player didn't report, and I saw that live in the game. I made people laugh because I saw him run up and tell the referee that he was checking in. I was like, oh, he's checking in. It's like, goddamn right, you better check in. I ain't doing that penalty ever freaking again, you dumbass. So we got that going, but I think the Super Bowl this year is the NFC is going to win it. The AFC's just been too up and down to tell me that one of the teams is going to be great. So, and it's one of these 3 teams. It's Dallas, Philly, or San Francisco. Right now, it's looking San Francisco more than anybody. I'm not going to lie. They're scary. If they play their A game and we play their A game, San Francisco will beat us every time. Right now, they have a little bit more depth at playmakers. Obviously, McCaffrey over Pollard. I love Pollard, but McCaffrey's a better back. I think CeeDee's still the best wide receiver out of that group. But then you got definitely, Kittle, as much as Ferguson's been playing great, Kittle over Ferguson, Debo over, or Ayuk over Cooks, and stuff like that. And Jennings and Gallup are kind of a top up, but Jennings been playing great football. So, and then offensive line wise, I think San Francisco beats us too. So yeah, I definitely don't want to face them, but it's gonna have to be something. I would prefer Philly to face them first and see. Hopefully, maybe Philly gets a win out of there.
Are we here? Are we here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you want?
Puzzles.
Puzzles.
Yeah.
Okay. There you go.
Puzzles.
Puzzles. Yep. Go play your puzzles. Thank you. All right. Sunday Night Football was Green Bay versus Kansas City. Green Bay picking up a surprise win here, 27-19. Kansas City's wide receiver woes still continue. Yes, there was a lot of blown calls at the end of that game, but their wide receivers are not getting open in Kansas City. They do not have the same. And so what it's doing, and it's one-on-one coverage. There's not a lot of double teaming on the wide receivers. So it's taking Travis out of the game because now, man, Green Bay was jamming him hard at the line, making sure there was a guy over top always with him. Like, they're taking away Patrick's option there. And the only outstanding thing for Kansas City I saw in this game was Pacheco running all over everything. And they kind of just went away from that, and I don't understand why. Andy Reid gets kind of stubborn when it comes to play calling at times, where he'll stick to what he wants to do, not adjust to what's happening. Kansas City's in a little bit of trouble right now. They definitely are still going to make the playoffs. They're going to win their division. I heard somebody saying they might not win their division the other day. I was like, that's ridiculous. They'll win. But that playoffs, man, you're going to go face the Ravens, who are very tough on wide receivers, and you can't get guys catching balls. You're going to be in trouble. So I think the offseason they need to address that. There's some wide receiver free agents coming up. Might be somebody in the draft. T. Higgins, I don't think the Bengals are going to be able to pay T. Higgins the money he wants. He wants to be paid like a number 1 receiver, so he needs to go prove that still somewhere else, though. I think if Kansas City go pick up T. Higgins, that would be huge for them. So, Green Bay, though, man, congratulations. Jordan Love's looking better every week. That defense of Green Bay is looking really strong. I think that's the biggest thing I'm taking from a lot of this is Green Bay's defense is looking strong, getting stops when they need it. Yeah, they're in the hunt. They're in the playoff hunt. I wrote them off a couple weeks ago, and that's shame on me. But they're coming. They're making a comeback. They're still not going to win the North. That's 100% in Detroit's hands. But they got a shot at the playoffs. So, it'd be kind of a little funny that Green Bay makes the playoffs over Aaron Rodgers. Obviously it was an injury. I think Aaron Rodgers plays this season. The Jets are way better than what they were. We missed out on a lot with him being injured. But still a great game. And then finally, the Monday night game last night. What a thriller in overtime as well. Cincinnati pulling up the win with 34 over Jacksonville 31. Trevor Lawrence does, though, go down at the end of the game with an ankle injury. Kind of changes a little bit of momentum there. But Jake Browning played great football. He won a lot of games with Washington when he played at Washington. Do I think he'll be a starting quarterback somewhere else? No. Do I think he's that backup like Cooper Rush or, who's another good one that was always there for somebody, the Bengals might want to just keep him because you don't know how healthy Joe Burrow is going to stay at times. And if he's proven he can win football, he kept him alive. They lose that game last night, their playoff chances probably drop almost to near nothing. But by winning that game, man, he keeps him alive. He's going to try to get him to the playoffs. I think that's a credit to Zach Taylor and how he play calls. It was a great game. And the two games that are normally the bad games, the Thursday night football and the Monday night games lately have been just kind of the bleh games. Two really great football games. Sunday night was a great game. The primetime games hit hard this week, which is good. You're going to start seeing some flex scheduling come out again where they're going to move, some teams off Sunday night to the afternoon, other teams to Sunday night so they get a better matchup. Monday Night Football's got a double header next week, I believe. So we're getting into it. And I think this was the last week of the byes as well. Buffalo, Chicago, Las Vegas, Minnesota, New York, and Baltimore. I think that gets all the byes taken care of and out of the season. So now it's full forward, push to the playoffs. It's gonna be a great next couple weeks of football. I'm gonna be tuned in every night. Go ahead and jump over to my TikTok channel, Cowboys Grim Reaper over there. Got some great videos going up. We're going to be posting a lot there. Got that. Got some new swag we're wearing. We got this at the stadium. Got this over in Dallas as well. This nice little Santa hat we'll wear sometimes. But, man, was it a great experience. And, man, can I wait to not get back. It's going to be, I hope to go back. I want to get better seats the next time. Not saying my seats were bad by any means. I loved where I was sitting. It was a great atmosphere. It's just so different being there live, man. Like you feel the win, you feel the crowd, you feel the heartbreak too. Like I said, that first opening play with DK, my heart just dropped out of my stomach a little bit, and I'm like, whew, here we go. I'm never gonna be able to come to Dallas Cowboy Stadium ever again because when I'm here they lose, and I'm superstitious like that. So, great week of football. Great next couple weeks coming up. The playoffs runs are gonna be great. I look forward to seeing where everybody goes. Top 5 power rankings. And for the first time in forever, I'm going to copy Stephen A's power rankings because I actually agree with it. At number 5, I got the Miami Dolphins. Number 4, even with the loss, they're still a top 5 team. You got to throw in the Philadelphia Eagles in there. It was a tough loss, but they were still good enough not to slide them out of the top 5. And other teams didn't perform as well either, to really take that spot from them. Number 3 on their bye week, the Baltimore Ravens. Haven't shown you why they should be dropped out of the top 5 yet. Great defense. Offense is improving. See where it goes. They've got some tests coming up. They've got the San Francisco matchup in 2 weeks where they need to show, can we hang with this NFC team that is just killing everybody and probably the Super Bowl favorites right now. So we'll see how that matchup goes. At number 2, I got the Dallas Cowboys. My boys up at number 2 in the power rankings, playing great football as of late, finally beating a team over 500, even though it put a team back to 500. So if Seattle loses again, they're going to be under 500, and we're going to hear that freaking excuse again. But they're playing great football. Dak Prescott playing out of his mind. MVP, number 1 MVP candidate in my opinion right now. And then number 1, there's no doubt right now, it's the San Francisco 49ers. The most balanced team in football. Offense, great. Defense, great. Special teams, they don't need to do special teams that much because they're scoring at will, and their defense is forcing turnovers, beating the crap out of teams. They don't need to do a lot on special teams. So, San Francisco, your special teams probably the easiest positions in football right now. They get a rest on the sidelines a lot. Yeah, just solid play by San Francisco right now. Brock Purdy probably number 2 in the MVP conversation right now. The reason I put Dak over Brock is because Brock does have that weapon variety, and if you look at Brock's stats versus Dak's stats, they're very similar as far as yards and touchdowns, but Dak's stats come at a lot more of a he's completing passes down the field, whereas Brock's picking up a lot of stuff from Debo breaking tackles, George breaking tackles, Christian McCaffrey breaking. He's just getting the ball to the playmakers. They're making the plays. Where I feel like Dak is the reason the play is being made. So that's where I put that there. Lamar's going to come in, start playing the next couple weeks. We'll see where it puts him MVP. Jalen's dropping a little bit for me. And CJ dropped a little bit for me too in the MVP conversation. He didn't have his best game, but they still won. But CJ's definitely Rookie of the Year for sure. And Tyreek at MVP, I would love that because I hate now that how the MVP and the Defensive Player of the Year has either become the Quarterback of the Year or the Edge Rusher of the Year. Because that's not how it should be. What the MVP should be, the most valuable player in the NFL. Which player in the NFL is the most valuable to their team? Or I guess it's hard to say just even their team. But Tyreek has made the Dolphins offense this crazy explosive thing. Two is the kind of the same conversation like with Brock. Two is getting them the ball. He's not making the play to get them the ball. He's just getting them the ball, and then they're making plays. That's how I feel about it. And great, yeah, their stats are through the roof, but you got to look at when did the ball get to the wide receiver, and what did the wide receiver do afterwards to make that play. He's still in there, obviously, but I think Tyreek should be considered over him 100%. And then, even then, too, like, I think defensive players should be considered, too, you know? Like, some of these guys are putting up some insane stats. DeVron Bland should be in Defensive Player of the Year contention as well. Will they put him up there? I don't know. I mean, Khalil Mack's leading in sacks. TJ Watt's doing his thing. I think Bosa really hasn't been in the conversation at all. Micah's been up and down in it because there are teams that just know how to keep Micah out of games. And I haven't seen really anybody else defensively really. And I always think Fred Warner should be in the conversation as well. But that's just me watching what he does. He is such a great linebacker. But yeah, DeRon Bland should 100% be in the Defensive Player of the Year conversation. Now, granted, he needs to drop a little bit. He didn't have his best performance this week. Still got an interception, but didn't have his best performance of this week. So a lot of things still left. A lot of football still has to play to make that decision. But that's where I stand on everything there. So I don't know if I'm going to do Red Dead Redemption 2 today. I'm thinking about it. It might be a little later tonight now, though, instead. We just got a new guy at work, so I'm back to doing nights for a couple weeks so he can get trained up, and then he'll go to nights and I'll go to days. So my schedule will change up for this week and next week. So I might go to nights. I am also going to start doing Gotham Knights was discounted on the PlayStation Store, so I went and picked that up. We'll start doing some of that gameplay. I'm still contemplating in my head doing Modern Warfare 3 and doing ranked playthrough there, streaming that as well. But just turn those, hit that follow button for sure. The more followers, always the better. But turn those notifications to on. That's the best way to know when I go live, and you can come join in the conversation. Don't hesitate to come join in. It's a great time. I'm very chatty with my chat when they're here. I try to be as entertaining as I can be. It's just hard to do when you're talking to yourself. I know that shouldn't be an excuse, but that's how I feel about it. So we almost hit that, we're almost right at that hour mark. So kind of where I want to end this, and I'm going to go hang out with the boy a little bit and cook him some lunch up, let the dogs out for a little bit and stuff like that. So yeah, just hit that follow button, turn those notifications to on. Check out my YouTube channel, Jay the Flash, where you can see past episodes of this and the Red Dead Redemption 2 playthrough. And then on Twitch, or over on TikTok, Dallas Cowboys Grim Reaper, we're starting to build that up. I think I've made some pretty good videos. I think you'd be entertained on some of those. It's definitely more Dallas Cowboy content heavy now than it, when I first started doing the TikToks, it was a lot of my Call of Duty, my Turtle stuff. Just some random stuff. So a lot more Dallas Cowboy focused for the football season. So, and I'm excited to do some things in the off season. I'm getting some skits coming in. So, anyways, thank you all. If you watch this later, I appreciate it. And hopefully I'll catch you guys on the next live. Check you out later.